On today's video, I'm going to go over a few of the newest items in my collection that I recently picked up from a viewer. Stay tuned. One of the things I didn't expect when I started this YouTube channel was that I was going to have friends and family coming out of the woodwork offering up old computers for me to take a look at. Now, I recently went up to Pennsylvania to visit family, and a friend of mine set these aside. Now, he typically goes through a lot of e-waste all the time, and he just sends it right to the dump, but he set these three aside because they're actually from the late 90s. This one right here is about 96, 97. This one right here is 97, 98, give or take. And this one right here is also about 1998. Now this one has a external floppy disk that could be swapped out with the CD-ROM internally. Unfortunately, the floppy disk and the CD-ROM both don't work. Now the CD-ROM's an easier fix because I can take any other IDE CD-ROM and just switch out the external connectors and slide it in there and it'll work just fine. Now the floppy disk, however, is a little more proprietary. The ribbon cable that is on the inside of here is actually soldered to the board, so I can't just take another mobile floppy drive and disconnect the connector and put it in. It does have a little belt in here that has stretched. Unless I can source another belt, I might just have to source another floppy. This also is unable to boot off the CD, so you definitely need a floppy drive if you're going to load anything like Windows on here or any other operating system for that matter. It is a pretty nice little machine. It's got the little keyboard nub mouse. Your two keys here aren't very intuitive. This is your main click and this is your right click. Because they're on top of each other, I tend to get them a little backwards. The screen also has a bad flicker, so I don't know if that's in the ribbon cable or the LCD itself. Otherwise, it's pretty clean, and the fact that the original hard drive still works in there is pretty amazing for its age. This one I'm going to set aside. It's going to be a whole other video of me fixing that up. But I do like, for its age, for a mid-90s laptop, it is pretty versatile. Now this one here, the IBM ThinkPad 380 XD, this was a late 90s laptop, and it is more of a workhorse than this one. Although they're about a year apart in age, this one has much more capabilities. It's a 233 megahertz Pentium 2 processor. It has 32 meg of RAM on board. You can unofficially upgrade it to an additional 128 meg by just taking off a little panel on the bottom and slapping a stick in there. The battery on this one, like this battery's dead as well, but it holds a little bit of a charge, more than you'd think for a computer of its age. The battery in this one started making a hissing noise and I just pulled it. I don't need any fires in the house, so I don't care if it's an old battery that happens to hold a charge. I don't need hissing lithium batteries. I do plan on repacking the batteries for both of these. I'm going to do it at the same time I do the other Macintosh battery I need to do. I'm just going to knock them out all at once. This one is very nice though. It will load originally with 95. It can also load OS2, and it can load Rhapsody OS, but I can't get the sound working, so I'm not sure where I'm going to take that in a video one day, but I am definitely going to go over this one in the near future, just because everything works and there's very little to repair on it. It's not very banged up. It's pretty clean. A few scrapes and scuffs. This is where the battery would go if I actually had it. And it has an integrated floppy disk and CD-ROM all in the same unit. Now, I'm sure you can disassemble that even further if the floppy drive only broke. When you get these old computers, you have to be a little MacGyver with some things. You can't just go to the IBM website and order new parts for these things anymore. Another thing that I find interesting on this laptop is that even though it's shipped with Windows 95, it has a USB port, which is crazy for its time. I'm not sure if they just put that on there knowing where the technology was going to go, or if they had an actual use for it when it was still running 95. If anything, you'd probably just use a mouse or keyboard with it. I don't see too many options other than that. Thumb drive might work, but you'd have to get the drivers, obviously. The other computer I got here, now this one is interesting. This is a HP NetServer E60. It's a dual 550 megahertz Pentium 3 computer. It was originally meant to be a server, obviously, in the name, and there's not much more you would have done with it back then. Nobody's playing games on two CPUs in the mid 90s unless you happen to have Quake 3. That's about it. There might be other games that take advantage of it, but Quake 3 is the one I do know that does run dual CPUs. Other games, not so much. I'm going to open this one up here real quick. Now, the interesting thing about this is being a server, it is only going to have SCSI. The only IDE channel on this thing is meant for the CD-ROM and any other small peripherals you might have. If you do plug a hard drive into it, the max size you're going to get is 8.4 gig. That's basically because that's all the controller could handle back then. Most hard drives back then weren't much bigger for IDE anyways, so they didn't really have any forward thinking of using IDE in this anyways, mainly because it had SCSI. So it has onboard SCSI, not a separate controller card, and it currently has a 9.1 gig SCSI drive in there. I do have a 74 gig SCSI drive I can throw in here later, and I am going to upgrade the video. It has just a basic ATI Mach 64 video card. I threw a Sound Blaster Live in here only because it had an empty slot, which I can only assume was probably an old network card or maybe something else, I don't know. Otherwise, on the back here, it did have a little sticker over the USB. Now, I don't know why that sticker was there. It is actually from the factory because it was the same color matching silver as the back plate. So I'm wondering if that was covered because this shipped with NT at the time and didn't have support for USB, perhaps. I don't know. We'll dig into that. I do know I plan on loading this up and I'm going to turn it into a gaming PC of some sort, mainly because it has those dual Pentium CPUs in there. Now, most games can't take advantage of that dual CPU, but that doesn't mean it's just going to waste. So you could have two screens set up where you've got your game in one screen and you've got something going on in the other. Not that there's much software that you could really stream with this or anything like that, but it's something to go, it's a road to go down when we get that far. So I do plan on taking advantage of this. Now, the other thing it had was a max of 1 gig of RAM, and this server came out in 1997 when your standard computer was coming installed with 16 or 32 meg of RAM unless you started upgrading. So the fact that you could get 1 gig of RAM in this thing was just wild for the time. This is definitely something I'm going to have a lot of fun with once I start cracking into it. When I opened it up originally, when I booted it up originally, it didn't have an OS on it, and I'm thinking they either had Linux on this or Windows NT. Now, if it was in service beyond 2000, they could have put Windows 2000 on here, server. I really don't know the function that this server had in its past life. That's one of the things that when you're collecting old computers, you don't always have all the service notes prior. So that'll be something interesting to see what I can do with this, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, the first thing I'm going to look at is the IBM here, mainly because it's compact, everything works. I can load some software on here, clean it up. That'll make a somewhat nice video. This one as well, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with this. And then this one here is going to be more of a repair video. Hopefully it's not too far gone, and we'll see where we go with that. So if you like videos like this, if you like this old hardware, go ahead and throw me a sub. I appreciate it. I do plan on doing more videos. The reason I didn't do a video last weekend was part of that trip coming down up to Pennsylvania and back down all within the same weekend. You can probably hear it in my voice. I still have a little bit of frog in my throat. I was deathly ill and I couldn't be bothered. I'm feeling better now, aside from the little frog in my throat here. But I'm ready to make more videos, and I have a lot more hardware to go over, which is great. So if you like this stuff, stay tuned. There's definitely going to be more. Thank you very much. Take care.